What's up, everybody? We should be live. All right. Pull it up here to make sure we're good to go. Looks like we are indeed good. Starting a little bit later today than normal, but there's a reason for that. So I got my own music playing in the background, right? Well, last day or two, I spent a hell of a time trying to figure out how I'm gonna make like more music, and I wanted to do it on stream. And I did it when I was on Windows, but on Linux, it seems like it's a little bit different. So let me turn this down just a little bit more because it might be too loud. Alright, so. Oh my god. So first of all, finding a DAW or digital audio workstation to be able to do what you do. So when I was on Windows, I had PreSonus Studio One 5, version 5 as my DAW. I really liked it. And yeah, it was cool. It pops up. I have it running under Wine, and it is able to interact with VSTs and stuff like that because of all the stuff I did with Yaw Bridge and getting all that working for Reaper. But yeah, it doesn't quite work. So it functions, but it has a high latency. So I'm not sure how much of that is just because I'm not running like the low latency kernel, or if there's like other settings I can tweak. But back in Linux Mint 21, when I tried to use the low latency kernel, I lost like a bunch of drivers for shit that broke everything. Like my Wi-Fi drivers, those were gone. And at the time, that was how I was connecting to the internet mostly. Because at the time I was using Starlink for an ISP because I lived in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't have the fancy cable for the Starlink router that made it so I can plug in my own switch or something like that. So, whatever. Anyway, long story short, I've been messing around with trying to figure out how to like get my old MacBook to like run GarageBand on there and have my amplifier going to that, and then going from that into OBS on here. I even like dug out my old little capture card, I guess I have. It's a Cam Link, but it is a capture card. But this has like a built-in 200 millisecond latency on everything going to it. So that was not good for audio. Yeah, it's just been an ordeal. So the reason why I was trying to do that is because I like to have tunes going while I'm on stream programming. And it seems like every time I try to use a royalty-free or DMCA-free music, I get DMCA'd. So it's like, gotta make my own shit. So I'm gonna get back to doing that one way or another eventually. But for now, we're getting back into our game. So I've decided that for the rewrite, I'm gonna go with the rewrite because I think it's gonna give me a lot more in the long run. And I think it's going to be worth the effort to kind of get back to where I was by rewriting it, which just feels bad. I started this game 3 years ago. I haven't worked on it 3 years solid. It's not my job. It's my hobby. It's my side project. It's a little passion project of mine that I work on when I feel like it, basically. Well, I haven't felt much like it lately. So I'm trying to like push myself into working on it because I can envision what it's going to be in my head, and I want to play it. Not necessarily make it, but I want to play it. Making it's kind of fun, but that's not. I don't know. I think I need to be more invested in the journey of it as opposed to the final product. I'm going to get there eventually if I enjoy the journey getting there, right? So that's where I'm at right now. So let's just fire up and see where I'm at. So you can see we have a ship. Last time I streamed, I think I got the thrusters working again. So nothing too big there. But this moves identical to how it did in Godot 3 in the previous way. At least functionally, it does the same thing. It's programmed a little bit differently though. It's split up much better. So my ship is split up into different things, and my ship script is currently only 70 lines of code as opposed to the 1500 it was. But then again, I haven't implemented everything yet, so there's still lots to do. So let's see what do we have. We have our variables as a ship data resource. We have a controller, a ship controller that determines how the input gets into the ship. We're keeping track of our velocity. We also have a thruster controller, which just basically handles the basically thrusters, like the actual physical particles that are showing up on screen, the visible particles. So that thruster controller handles that, and basically I'm getting my ship controls from my controller, and then from here I'm just doing some logic, determining like handling the ship rotation, updating our accelerating, decelerating, all that fun stuff, and then translating our velocity, and then we're feeding in our input into our thrusters, into a managed thrusters method. And that's what I did last time. I did the managed thrusters stuff. So I got that working. So this all kind of relies on this thing called sprite stuff, which is kind of I don't know if I should split this up farther, but sprite stuff contains the sprite 2D with the texture set, and also an area 2D and light occluder 2D with the polygon shapes set. This node has a property named area that references the area 2D, so you can connect signals to it as needed. Damn, you do coding? Had no idea. I also picked up Godot coding. It was like 2 weeks before seeing a vid. Sweet. Yeah, that's my day job is coding. I haven't gotten to do much. Oh, wow, you got a video for me? Sweet. Oh, I see. 2 weeks before seeing a vid from you. I got you. Well, welcome back, Blitzar. I'm not cheesing Terraria right now, but I'm working on making my own little game. I'm working on actually rewriting it from what I had in Godot 3. So just to recap where I was before I started rewriting it. So let's run this. Let's just do a new game. All right. So here's our ship, right? So pretty similar to what I have in the other game. You can see we've got like Earth and a sun and all this stuff. There's other ships flying around. We have like a loose mini map. There's a big old Synthocracy heavy frigate right there. That's cool. So pretty basic. So I can land on these planets. What is it? F to interact. Ooh, the game looks good. It's not a bad start, right? It looks like shit for 3 years, but I haven't been working on it straight for 3 years. But I'm pretty happy with the art style, especially because I changed it twice already. It was kind of fun. Here, let's take a trip down memory lane really quick. Let's go ahead and want to just kind of go through and get caught up to where we are, right? So let's go to playlists. So I have this playlist called I Make My Own Game. I bravely called it I Make My Own Game start to finish. I haven't finished it yet. So starting out, let's see. So we had like placeholder asset creation. If we take a look at this video, let's view this. You can see me making like the art.
This light gray again for right here.
So it's come a long way from that. And then let's see. Let's go back to the videos. So let's go to firing projectiles, right? Because I think I had some stuff on this one. This is my 5th devlog. Let me just find. So this is back when I was making it in Game Maker Studio 2. Is there faraway planets and stuff? There is faraway planets. So I'll get to that in a second. So let me go back and let's see if we got it working.
This is how we do our little cooldown counter here. So now if I hit play on this,
let's see what happens. Oh my god,
I'm
firing projectiles! Woo! Cool. So yeah, that was the early start. We're definitely not starting from that. We have all of our art assets made. So I'm not going to go through every devlog, but so right about on part 14, so this was October 2022, AI art was getting like a really big thing, right? So I was like, oh, I could just use AI to make the art for my game. And I did that for a while, especially because part of the game's story was going to be about how AI affects humanity in the long run. And then, so that was part 14, started using that AI generated art. And then I switched to, I started porting it from GameMaker to Godot in November of 2022. And then let's see, when did I change the AI? More work on AI improvements. That's like behavior stuff. Here we go. Drastic design change. No more AI art. This was in March 29, 2023. And that's where I decided to start making my own art again. So all the sprites and stuff that you see are basically hand-drawn like sprites. So there's a lot that I have programmed here, but it's all messy. It's a big house of cards. So I have like trading, so you can buy trading and stuff like that. You can buy stuff to trade, and you can do like a boost, which is nice. And then I do have other star systems that you can go to. So for example, I can go ahead and jump over to this system. And here we go. We're going to boost over there. Boom, we are boosting. And now we are at this other new star system with its own planets. What app would you use if you're on mobile making a game? So if you're making a game, like you're targeting mobile as a platform, or you are physically using like a tablet or a phone to code your game. Because that will be kind of a big determining factor. Yeah. Oh, so the booster mechanic I suggested already years ago was added? Yeah. So for this game, this is not an original concept that I had. This game is heavily inspired by a game called Escape Velocity Nova, which was a game I played as a child, and I thought it was awesome. I think I still have it. Let me see. EV Nova. Yeah, I should be able to run this. Let's see if it works. Oh, God. It says, please update my graphics driver. This game was like in the 90s or something like that. Holy cow. So yeah. It's going pretty slow. I'm not sure why it's going slow right now. But this is kind of the game. It's not normally this slow, right? So this is kind of the idea. Like this is the main inspiration for the game that I'm making. And I liked how it did the storytelling in that game. And I kind of wanted to do that as well. So why am I rewriting what I've got? Why am I doing like a second rewrite? Because I already rewrote it when I ported it from GameMaker to Godot. And then now I'm porting it from Godot 3 to Godot 4 and rewriting it from scratch again. Why am I doing that? Because currently, how I have this rigged up, there's a lot of bloat in my code. Because when I ported it from GameMaker to Godot, I was still learning how the Godot engine worked. And the Godot engine's still being developed. It's still being worked on. That's why there's a Godot 4. Because there's a lot of breaking changes that they made that weren't compatible with Godot 3. And so not only did I code it in a bad way, I didn't do it in a very Godot way. And then now there's new features available in Godot 4 that will give me a lot more things I want. So I actually tried porting it in place, like updating it to do Godot 4. However, that did not go too well. Where was that at? So June 2020 or June 22nd, 2023, I tried to convert it to Godot 4 in place. Ended up having to revert back because there was some regressions in the 2D rendering of how I was doing things, because Godot 4 was really focused on 3D. They've resolved some of those with Godot 4, and there's a bunch more features and stuff. So basically in the old engine, the old project, how I did it, like my ship code is bloated. I pulled this up many times, but my ship script is 1,500 lines of code. That's really bloated. I did not make this that well. I have a ton of just random variables that I probably don't even need. Like I have acceleration speed modifier, strafe speed modifier, all this stuff here, right? Boost cooldown, HP max modifier. And I have just everything just kind of vomited in here. And then I've already tried to, and this is after I already migrated some of the code. I broke it out into smaller components. So for example, like this is my ship script. I have some code for ship thrusters. So everything managing ship thrusters, I did here. So here's 100 lines of code taken out. Everything managing shields, I did this here. There's no 85 lines of code taken out. Everything managing weapons, I did that here. Here's another 150 lines of code taken out. So I've done some things to kind of mitigate, like kind of try to compact it, but I'm at a point now where the way I programmed this, it's so brittle because I didn't understand what Godot expected, like how I should program things in Godot. And so it's just become a house of cards. So anytime right now I'm trying to implement a new feature, I'm constantly refactoring old code to implement some new features. So I was trying to work on like shipyard customization, right? So in the current state of this game, if I just jump into a new game and I jump in here and I want to go to the shipyard, right? You can browse for new ships, you can buy new ships, awesome. If you want to customize your ship, I have some basic stuff here. I was working on adding upgrades that you can add to your ship that affect various things about how it handles. So if you want more shield capacity, maybe more hull, maybe more acceleration speed, maybe you want to decelerate faster, maybe you want a higher top end, maybe you want to be able to turn quicker so you're more nimble, right? Maybe you want to be able to strafe faster if you're like a fighter or something like that. You can buy upgrades that do that stuff, as well as upgrades that give you other benefits as well. So in shopping for upgrades, I was kind of adding this, and you could, let's say for example, I want to add this like rear thruster on here, right? I can physically place it on the ship, which is cool. That I want to be able to place those on the ship, which is something that's not in the other game. Like it's not in games of this type that I've seen so far, right? Just being able to freely place something on your ship. And trying to get that working has been a pain. So I could place it on there, bam, now we have this upgrade, sweet. So now if I leave, you can see, ta-da, we have an upgrade. Okay, cool. So let me just do the same thing for weapons, right? No. You would think, but no. How I coded it, trash. So and I was like trying to figure out how I wanted to refactor this from scratch, or not from scratch, but like refactor it in place so I wouldn't have to rewrite the entire thing. And I think it's too far gone. And the way I started this is it started in GameMaker Studio 2. I ported it to Godot, trying to still do it in a GameMaker-like way. And then I basically didn't do any thought to the future about how, oh, when I get to my events, story, and dialogue and stuff like that, how am I going to put that in? I don't know. I'll figure it out. I didn't do any forward thinking. So now all those decisions are like, well, I'm going to have to implement that stuff soon. How am I going to fit that into what I have currently? So there's just a lot of growing pains. So every time I try to work on the game, I spend about 85% of the time refactoring old code to make the new thing fit. About 5% of the time actually implementing the damn thing. And then 10% of the time fixing the random bullshit that happens when I put it in there. Which I guess is probably regular development. But it's not a pattern I want to continue for a hobby project. So I'm taking the advantage to just... Well, I still haven't gotten the vertical slice of the game done yet. So in the current version, I was working on in Godot 3, I'd say probably under half of the core features are there. So what should this game have? Well, obviously piloting a ship in space, going to star systems, right? So you can pilot a ship, you can fire weapons from that ship, you can take damage, you have shields, all this cool stuff, you could put upgrades and stuff on it. That was kind of implemented. So ships are a big thing. You could buy new ships. So planets and locations that you can land at, I have those kind of working. They're not great, but it's there. The core of it's there. I could spruce that up quite a bit. A lot of what's there currently is not, it doesn't look attractive, because this menu kind of sucks. Because it just has, oh, you're at Earth. No one's going to read this shit right here. I don't even read it, and I care about this game. All I care about is these freaking buttons over here. And even these aren't that great. So, yeah. So not amazing, right? So, but it works. So if you look at, let's take a look at another game who also had the same inspiration that I had. So this game, actually, I've been playing this, doing market research for a while. I've got 18 hours in it. So playing this game, it's very, very similar to Escape Velocity Nova. Let's see, got an idea. Maybe meteors that float around, if shot, drop power-ups. So that's kind of a thing. There are asteroids. You can do asteroid mining. So let me see, am I gonna be attacked? Oh god, yeah, I am. Oh, fuck you guys, I'm out. Peace, later dorks. So there are asteroids that float around, right? So in my game, there will eventually be asteroids. But this game is very, very similar. It's very heavily inspired by Escape Velocity Nova. And if I were to... Here, let's just go back and load that game again. So if you look at this location here, right? This is much more... this is much more immersive, right? You have a big image here of, granted, since this game is free, it uses a lot of Creative Commons licensed photos and art. And so there's already a bunch of stuff here. So this is probably like something out in like Colorado or some shit, right? Who knows, right? So, but they have a little blurb in the middle that says like what the location is. And then they have, if they have a shipyard, it's there. They have an outfitter where you can buy stuff, upgrades for your ship, right? So their menus, while not perfect, are a lot better than mine. So you can go trade. Trading is just a simple low window here that shows you some kind of details about it, which is cool. Mine's a little bit more in depth, and I don't think that mine's better. I think this is probably really all you need. Shows you what the commodity is, the price of it. What's really cool, though, is when you go to the map, right? So their star system, their like galaxy, whatever, it's very, very similar to what Escape Velocity Nova has as far as concept, right? There are various places that you can go to. But Endless Sky improved upon that formula by giving you a lot of information. Now, it's not clear what this information is. So, for example, like, what are these little red ticks over here? Like, there's orange ticks, there's red ticks, there's other colors somewhere. Like, what is the purpose of all this stuff, right? Well, these show you, like, what missions are available. So if you go here, you can see that, oh, there's a few missions that are available here. You could take those missions. If I want to see, let's say, for example, I'm traveling to this star system, right? What does that star system sell? So down here at the bottom left, let me zoom in so you guys can, oh, I can't zoom in, damn it. So you guys can kind of see here, there's various prices. this is basically taking what the current market is at your current system, and it's showing you what the prices are in your target system to the best of its knowledge, which is cool. So I can say, hey, I'm going to grab a few missions. I'm going to head over here to the CAF system. And then while I'm there, it looks like they need luxury goods big time. So let me go and I'm going to pick up some luxury goods. So bam, I can go here. I can buy luxury goods. You can see they're selling low. I can just buy all, and then biggity bam, I have a full hold, and I can depart. I can go there and I can like sell, right? Those are all things that are super nice. The core concept of that mechanic was in Escape Velocity Nova, and it's also in my game currently, but they improved upon it by giving you more data on that map. I do like that. That's a really cool thing that they didn't have to do. Let me turn my my tunes back on. There we go. So yeah, Endless Sky, free game, pretty cool, pretty simple. I also like that the art style that they kind of had was similar to Escape Velocity Nova, which is cool. But so yeah, I'm trying. So basically, I'm doing a lot of reevaluating right now, a lot of thinking about how I want to re-architect stuff. So let me grab a drink here. Yeah. I can't wait to figure out how to get my guitar recording setup going again. Then I can do some streams where we make some music. That'll be dope. Alright, so our ship, basically I've already broken out my ship into multiple stuff. So let's go to entities. Let's go to ships. So under definitions, we have our ship. We have a ship controller, which is the base type that specifies how inputs are going to come into the ship. And I have two variants of that. I have an AI controller and I have a player controller. So player controller is, of course, for player controlled ships. It responds to inputs on the keyboard or mouse or controller. And then I have my AI controller, which basically the inputs are determined by like decision-making algorithms that are just like, hey, if it's just a state machine basically. So I have a lot of that. That's what most of the code is for the ship class in the old, is AI. Like not AI in the modern term of like ChatGPT in my game, but AI in the classical term of literally just artificial intelligence, just decision-making algorithm, like computer behavior, right? So implementing bots into the game, basically, right? So AI control. So this is where AI starts. So 895 all the way down to 1520. This is all the state machine logic that determines what the ships do. So a lot of this can be abstracted out. So you can see, for example, AI state idle. We have our actions here, our inputs, basically. We're resetting those to 0. And then we're just basically going through a decision tree here, basically saying, hey, what's going to happen? Hey, do we have a target? If we don't have a target at all, we're going to say, hey, let's find a target. Yeah, it's going to go through, it's going to try to find a target. If it doesn't find a target, it's going to let's see, we have a target. So it's going to say idle, basically. But if it does have a target, it's going to say, hey, is that target within range to engage? Or should I move closer to it? And then if it's, once you have to move closer to it, it goes to state intercept. And then it's like, okay, then I'm running the code for intercept. And intercept is basically saying, hey, am I close enough to this target or do I have to move closer? I keep accelerating towards the target. And then once I get within a range, then, okay, I'm in range to attack. We're going to go into our state attack. And then I run my attack code, which basically just says fire weapons at the target, right? And are they within range? If not, move to intercept. Or does our target still exist? If not, find a new target, right? So there's all this programmable behavior here is what's eating up a lot of the code here. But the nice thing about this is that the way I'm doing it in the rewrite is that I have this AI controller resource here, basically. And we have our states defined. So we have some states defined for what the AI is going to do. And then I can actually extend this AI controller into separate controllers to enhance the behavior of ships. So for example, a fighter is going to act very differently than a carrier, right? Or a flagship or a cruiser, right? A warship is going to act very differently than a freighter. A freighter's going to just get the fuck out of Dodge, right? They're just going to, oh, I got shit to deliver. I ain't dying for this shit. And they're going to peace out. Whereas a fighter might try to do like strafing runs, try to use their speed to their advantage. A carrier or a cruiser will probably just try to maintain distance and use their long-range weapons and let their turrets deal with any fighters that are attacking them, right? So there's lots of different things I want to improve. I already did some of that in the old game. However, there's much more room to improve it, and this way I can do that. So I can write individual methods that will basically return. So the AI controller itself is extend ship controller, and ship controller just basically has a variable called controls, which is a ship controls, which is another resource that I created. And then we have a get ship controls method that returns ship controls, right? So this will be overridden by the player AI controller subtypes. So you can see like on my player controller, I have get ship controls, which overrides the one that we get from extending ship controller. And then we're just going through and we're just basically checking our inputs and saying, hey, are these, am I pressing the accelerate button? Okay, cool. Then controls.accelerate is true. Well, let's return that. So I'll be doing something similar for the AI where I basically determine like, hey, should we be approaching our target? Then accelerate. And it passes the same controls to the ship. So that'll be nice. Idea. If you make a first person, what if there's no health, but you're dead when the game calculates if you still have engines? So if you make first person, what if there's no health, but you're dead when the game calculates if you still have engines? Not sure what that means. Are you talking about making a first person game? Because this is not going to be a first person game. This is a top down game. As far as calculating, like if there's no health, game calculates if you still have engines. So there would be something under the hood then that still is calculating that. So for example, it's like there's multiple ways to do that, right? But it boils down to programmatically you have to track that somewhere, right? So it's tracked in a variable somewhere. And then whether or not you display that like in a health bar or something on to the player, that's completely up to you. But once you reach a certain threshold, then your engines will no longer work, right? Or if you run out of fuel or something like that, there's other metrics that you can determine whether or not your engines are still working. And then if you do that, then you display a game over screen. So you could do stuff like that. Oh, if you make a version of this game in 3D. Ooh. See, I don't know too much about 3D, is the thing. I primarily do a lot of stuff in 2D. But the core fundamentals are still the same. You would still have to have a variable or two to track those various thresholds that you want to meet. And then whether or not, so what determines whether or not your engines are still running? So do you have fuel? Are they overheated, right? So you'll have a variable to track how much fuel you have. You have a variable to track what your current heat temperature is. You have a variable to basically detect whether or not it's working. And you have things that can interact and influence those variables. So that's how you do things under the hood. Or at least that's how I would approach it. I'm not saying it's the way to do it, but it's how I would approach it. But first, yeah, first I would do thinking about, okay, what's the data like for what I'm looking at? And then I would go from there, which is the approach I'm trying to take with this rewrite here. All right, so enough spouting off random ass theory. Let's see what we're gonna actually make happen today. So right off the bat, big difference between the new version and the old version is like everything, right? So we have planets, we have a background, a space background that kind of moves. We have like a parallax background. I think I could also make that much more immersive, because the stars don't move too much, right? You can see they're kind of slow drifting by. Then everything else kind of drifts by at a different rate. So we can do that. Also, the camera follows the player, which is not too hard to really figure out to do. I could do that one. Let's start by making a parallax background. Oh, do 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 do. So let's see. Where should I put this? Probably under star systems. So let's see, entities. Oh wait, this is my old game. I was like, why is this not looking right? So entities, star systems. So star system. Because the star system is basically like that whole scene that we were in, basically, right? So we have a name, description, we have whether or not it's discovered for our map later on, we have the position it's going to be relative to like your map, and then is it controlled by a faction. So we can also add something else. We're also going to add what background should we use for this star system. So we're going to have to add that variable. So export variable, and we're just going to do background, which is going to be of type. So here's where I'm not sure. I think it's Parallax 2D, so it's different than how it was in Godot 3. This is one of the things that they kind of changed. Node export is only supported in node-derived classes, but the current class inherits resource. All right, let me just look at this really quick here. So Parallax 2D is used to create a parallax effect. It can move at different speed relative to the camera movement using scroll scale. This creates an illusion of depth in a 2D game. If manual scrolling is desired, the camera 2D position can be ignored with ignore camera scroll. Note, any changes to this node's position made after it enters the scene tree will be overridden if ignore camera scroll is false or screen offset is modified. Okay. So I assume I can just put multiple layers in there then, right? So let's see, parallax layer. Okay, so this is saying use with parallax background. A parallax background uses one or more parallax layer child nodes to create a parallax effect. Parallax layer can move at different speed. This creates an illusion of depth in a 2D game. Yep. Note, each parallax background is drawn on one specific viewport and cannot be shared between multiple viewports. Okay. So, why is there a parallax 2D then if it's parallax background and then parallax layers? What's the dealio there? So let's go node 2D should extend this, right? Oh no, canvas item. And then they have node 2D. And then we have parallax 2D. So does this just create one background? Not sure which I should use. Let's take a look. Let's do some research. Godot 4 Parallax. Bum bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bada bum bum. Bada bum bum bow. Okay, let's see. So what do they say? We're looking at stable, which is Godot 4 dot something, 4.4. So parallax is an effect used to simulate depth. Yep. This page covers how to use Parallax 2D, which is recommended to use over Parallax layer and Parallax background nodes. Okay, so they're recommending Parallax 2D, and it looks like they're just, so you can see here in their little scene tree right here that they have a Parallax 2D called Sky that just has an image, a texture, or a child of it. So they just do multiple. Okay, so that's actually a lot easier. So you can see that that's what they're doing here. Okay, cool. So we know what they recommend we should do. Let's stick with that. Anyway, going back to Star System. So we can't use that here, but what we can do, we can make it a packed scene. And so basically, whenever we load the data from our star system, we'll have the background scene that we can just instance. So what we're going to do is we're going to make, let's see. So how do I want to group this? So over here, I have my star systems folder. Definitions. This is where I'm defining like what the resources and stuff look like. And then I have implementations, which is where each star system is going to be. So I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this one, let's see, what should my first star system be? In Escape Velocity Nova, the main system where Earth is called Sol, or Sol, S-O-L, right? And then it's the same thing in Endless Sky. So I wonder, is that like a scientific thing, or? Bum bum, bum bum bum. Sol Star System. So it looks like Sol is also a star system in Halo. The home star system of humanity. Okay. So I think in my game, I think I called it Genesis. So I'm going to call it Genesis. So what does that mean exactly? Let me just make sure. Genesis definition, right? The act of producing or giving birth or origin to anything. So Genesis, the genesis of humanity. That's what I'm thinking of, right? So the main system in my game will be called Genesis, because that's what we're going to call it. So now we have a Genesis folder. So now what we're going to do here is we're just going to make a scene. And we're just going to call this one, I'm just going to call this one background. And this is going to be, we're going to make a node 2D, because we're going to have multiple Parallax 2D children of it, right? So background, and then let's just go ahead and open up this scene. So add child node, we're going to add a Parallax 2D. And let's see. So we have to add a child node of this, and this is going to be probably a sprite 2D, where we choose what our actual texture is. So now if I go in my stuff here over here to assets, we have sprites, I have some Open Game Art stuff, so I have some space backgrounds that I got from Open Game Art, which I do have attribution for. So let's look here. So Open Game Art Seamless background. So when I got this was CC0, which means I don't have to provide attribution, but I'm going to anyway. So Screaming Brain Studios uploaded this to Open Game Art on December 16th, 2020, and has a bunch of seamless backgrounds that you can use for tiling, or basically making like parallax backgrounds. So it's got like 32 different backgrounds in here, which is pretty cool. So I'm using those. So it's public domain, CC0. So I will make sure to attribute him or them once I release the game. But yeah, so that's one thing I was trying to keep up with, is like figure out where licensed assets should be disclosed. So I'll do that at some point. But there's also a few assets I purchased, but there's also a few that I got for free off Open Game Art. So that was pretty cool. So here you can see I got lots of different stuff here. Let's go ahead and let's see. I think those are like, I think those are my normal ones. Let's just do Starfield 1 just for now. So pretty basic like star system, right? There we go. So now we have that. So Parallax 2D. So what do they say? Okay. Make sure the top left of the textures are at the 0, crossing, like in the image below. Okay, so right away, we're all jacked up. So Sprite 2D, we're gonna turn off the offset. There we go, perfect. Alright, so let's see. Infinite repeat. Repeat size tells the node to snap its position forward or back when the camera scrolls by that set value. This effect is achieved by adding a single repeat to all child canvas items. Being a delicate effect, it's easy for unfamiliar users to make mistakes with their setup. Let's go over the how and why. The poor sizing. So same size or larger than your viewport. Let's see, we can set the viewport size. Okay. Make viewport smaller, don't want to do that. Scale, okay, we're basically making it bigger anyway. Scale it, got it. Okay, cool. So repeat textures. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I think I know what to do. I think I remember. So let's go to Parallax 2D node. Repeat. So repeat size is what they said. So our image, if we go look at it, Starfield 1, says it's 1024 by 1024. So we should be able to set our repeat size 1024 by 1024. So I think we're going to run into an issue though. It's smaller than our viewport, which is what they were saying. So I haven't added it to the game yet, which is why it's all derping out. So there's a few things that we can do. We can scale it to be bigger. So I think that's what we might do. So let's make this, let's see, what, 2048 by 2048. And you can see it's kind of scaling it, but there's a big gap, right? So let's go to our Sprite 2D. Let's go to transform. Let's scale it by 2. There we go. So now that works. So that will seamlessly go with our stuff. Pretty fun. Cool. So there's also some stuff I do want to add as well to make it more immersive, right? I want to add another Parallax 2D because I want to have multiple layers of stuff, right? That'll make it much more immersive. So the scroll scale of this, let's see what I was doing in the old game. So let's go to my, oh, it's probably under other scenes, parallax background. Looks like I did 0.1 for the far back, which is fine. So let's do that here. Let's make this one scroll scale 0.1 here as well. And then for this one, I want this one to be a little bit faster. So we'll do like 0.3. We'll just feel it out for now. We need to add a texture so that we can basically show what we got going on here as well. And for this one, I feel like it'd be cool to add like some sort of nebula, right? Let me open this in File Manager. Basically like different nebulas and stuff that we can add, right? That's kind of cool. I like that one. That's kind of nice. Yeah. That one could be cool. I think I like that one. So this one is Purple Nebula 2. Awesome. So let's add Purple Nebula 2 to this texture of this one. We're going to turn off that offset as well. And then, so this one is 1024 by 1024 as well. So we are going to go to our parallax. For our repeat, we're going to set this to be 2048 by 2048. And then for our sprite, we're going to scale that by 2. That way it's bigger than our viewport, so it properly repeats. Scale 2. Awesome. Now, this is covering all the stars, right? We don't necessarily want that to happen. So what we can do that might be kind of cool is for the visibility, we can go to the modulate, and we can just crank down the alpha. And so what this does is this should basically add like a haze over the stars as you see it moving around faster, which I think could be cool. I don't know if it'll work in theory, but it sounds awesome. So we'll see how it actually looks, but it should add some more stuff just moving around, right? Should be cool, I think anyway. We'll see. If not, there are other things that we could do. We could use noise textures to also add some stuff. But for now, we'll start with that. So this is the background that we're going to do for this star system here. So cool, we got that. That's fine. Star systems, Genesis. We have our background. Awesome. So we can copy the path to this. Actually, you know what? No. We don't even need to do that. Because what we're going to do, we're going to create new resource. We're going to create a new star system. And I'm going to name this one Genesis. Ba-da-ba-ba. So if we star system name, right? We're going to name it Genesis. If I can spell. There we go. Genesis. Description. To do birthplace of humanity. Because I think it'd be kind of cool to have star systems have descriptions as well. Just a little blurb that you can read about if needed. Is discovered. We're going to turn that to be on. The position is just going to be 0, 0. That'll be the start to our map. That's fine. Faction. So we do have some factions. I don't have any implementations of factions yet. So let's do that. Let's create a faction. I'm going to create a resource of type faction. I'm going to name this one Harmonious Synthocracy, which is the main faction of the humans. I won't go into why, because that's kind of like the story. I mean, basically, it's like AI is taking over, right? But it's not like the grim Terminator thing that you're probably thinking. So for this resource, we have a name. So we will say the Harmonious. We'll just call it Harmonious Synthocracy. Harmonious Synthocracy. Description: to do. Ermagerd AI rules the humans, right? So enemy factions, allied factions, nothing really set up there. We'll save that for the moment. And then so what we can do now is we can go back to our star system here, and we can basically drag in that faction. Boom. Now we have that. Awesome. So the background, which is a packed scene, we are just going to drag in that background. There we go. So now we have the stuff set for our star system. So we should be able to basically load this up. And we're also going to need to have something else for our star system. Now that we're thinking about it, we're going to need to have, let's see, what locations are within this star system. So, export variable. We're going to say, I'm going to call this locations. And this is going to be a array of location, which is another resource that we have. So I also think that we need something for the actual star. Like, it's a star system. Why is it called a star system? Because there's a big ass star in the middle, baby, that provides light and everything and heat and all that fun stuff that makes all the space juices flow, right? I mean, I'm no scientist, but yeah. So I want to have very different stars, because if you look in like so on the old game, when we run the game here, so we just have this big gaseous ball of goo over here, right? And it's the same gaseous ball of goo in every star system you go to. But maybe I want to have like a blue star or a red star. Something sick, right? That could be awesome. Or maybe I want to have like a weird ass star that's like phasing in and out, doing a bunch of weird shit. Maybe it's a star is a black hole because it's a fucked up star system and you gotta like boost your way out of there before you die or something like that. I don't know. There could be lots of cool things I can do. But I need a way to specify all that. So I think I also need to have what star will be used for the center of the star of this star system, right? And this is also going to be a packed scene, because it's going to be something that's going to be placed within the scene when my main script is basically setting up a new scene, like whenever you boost into a place or whatnot. It's going to pull all the assets from this. It's going to load them and instantiate them and stuff, and put them in the main scene, right? So we got to have that. And the star is always going to be in the center. If I want to be cool about it, I could if I wanted to, like, sometimes maybe a star system has multiple stars. That could be kind of cool. But I think if I do that, I'll just make the scene itself just have 2 stars in it. So I don't think I have to go into that depth, right? So this, just having it as a packed scene gives it pretty ambiguous, but still gives me type safety so that I can safely load it and instantiate it. So yeah, I feel better about that. Position of the map. Are we controlled by a faction? Okay, cool. Awesome. So now we have that data. So let's take a look at our main script. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-da-da. Our main scene as well. So our main scene just has our ship, which our ship data, we have the Syntocracy shuttle ship data, which is kind of a mouthful. And then we have, for a controller, we have a player controller. So that's how we're kind of doing things there, right? Awesome. So we also should have yeah, man. Shred. Sweepsies. Yeah. I love music. It's great. All right. So let's tweak this a bit. So let's just do, we'll do func ready. So we'll just return void. We'll do a pass for now. We'll do to do. And this is called when the scene enters the, or when the node enters the scene tree for the first time, right? So it's a built-in method. It's an internal method denoted by the underscore here. So it's like a private method if you're coming from like a C-like language or whatnot. And so what are we going to do? So first thing, I'm going to put a big old fatty to do here. This is test stuff right now. Perhaps make, let's say, just getting stuff on screen. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up our background, right? So we are going to, let's see, we're going to say var, I'm going to say Genesis, we're just going to say var system, well, star system data, which reminds me, let me go back. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's going to be of type star system, and we are going to, so now we have access to that data. So we're going to load up our background. So we're going to say var bg of type node 2D equals, and we're going to do star system data dot background dot load. Oh, no, we're going to load that. No, wait, no, because that load turns us a pack scene, so we can just go right to instantiate. There we go, instantiate, bam. So that gives us that, and then what we're going to do here is we're just going to add it as child. Add child, and we're going to add the background, and then we're going to, let's see, set up our player ship and add that too. So we already have the ship here. So this is, looks like test ship. So what we're doing here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to load that ship. Implementations, test ship, we're going to copy that path. This is all just to get it on the thing there. So var player, it's going to be node, maybe it's going to be of type ship actually. It's going to equal, and we're going to load it because we are passing in a path. And we're going to do instance, or is it dot new? Should be instantiate. There we go. Then also add a camera to our ship as well, so that way it follows us around, so we can actually test this this parallax background. So we're going to use a camera 2D, and we're just going to do camera 2D.new. Don't need to do that. There we go. So let's take a look at camera 2D. Ba-da-da. Okay, cool. I don't think we really have to set anything for it. I think once we add it to our player, it just friggin' works, which is awesome sauce. So we're gonna do player.add_child. We're gonna add the camera, and then we are going to add it to our scene. So we are going to add child. We're gonna add the player, and that should work. So let's get rid of this. I think this should work. Let's fire it up. Oh, star system. I gotcha. So we're gonna have to load that resource because I'm a dummy. So let's copy this path. Star system data. Star system equals load, and we're going to pass in that path. There we go. Save that. Let's restart it. So our thrusters are not working. I don't know why that's not working, but you can see our parallax background is, though. Not really well, but it's kind of working. So where did our thrusters go? So we have example sprite. We have our thrusters on there. I wonder what's going on here. So ship data. Yeah, now we're not getting any thrusters, which is weird. So example sprite. We have our thrusters on here. The sprite 2D thruster controller. We have a thruster controller. That's already there. So why is it not working? Huh. That's a stumper. Well, let's figure it out. So we got ship. We have Synthocracy shuttle ship data. So we do have that sprite scene added. You can see the thrusters are literally on there. And we have a player controller, which is working because we are doing our thing. So let's just do a thing here. Thrusters should be working. Let's just see if it outputs that to our console. Yeah. So it's running the code. But why is it not showing? But just for fun, I wonder if it has something to do with the parallax. Maybe the particles are emitting on a different layer or something like that. Let's go to visibility or ordering. Let's set z-index. So z-index, a higher z-index will display in front of others. So let's make this negative 100. We'll save that and see if that works. There we go. So it was a layering problem. Look at that. So now we're flying through space, baby. But look at that. I think that overlaying that nebula in front kind of adds a nice little tweak to it. You probably can't see it on the screen, but it does look better on here. So that's cool. Awesome. So we have that working. Fantastico. All right. So I don't know if I should set that here for every single background that I create, or if I should just, whenever I create that background. So we're going to do bg.zindex equals negative 100. So eventually when I make the code to like set up the scene for star systems and stuff like that, I'll just do it once. That way I don't have to make sure it's individually set on every little star system background resource I create, right? We won't have to do that. So that's cool. All right, so. Yep. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and let's undo this little debug line that we had here. That way it's not spamming our console constantly. Cool. Look at that. We have a little world. A little empty galaxy right now of nothing, of fucking nothing in here, which is awesome, which is cool. So sweet. All right, cool. So let's figure out how to make the star, right? Because that would be cool. So how I did that in the old one is not going to work for this one. So let's take a look at the old one. So believe it or not, this is the star for the old one. So I just have a super rough ass sprite that I drew of just it's like the same one I used for a planet, except I didn't even bother to do like the outline and stuff properly. It just looks like complete shit, okay? And then I have a light 2D, which is basically just emanating from the center. And I have it scaled up 15 times, which is pretty massive. And then I have particles coming out. And now, what's interesting about this is that the self-modulate, there is a thing in Godot 3 called a world environment, and there's an option for glow. And I cranked up the glow value to like 3 or 5 or something crazy on here. And that basically makes it look like how it does in the game here, where it's just this big glowing orb. It doesn't look like anything like it does, you know, in that little editor preview there. It doesn't look like that at all, right? So it does that with glow. Well, that's one of the changes that Godot 4 made, is that glow is not handled in the same way anymore. So I gotta figure out how I want to do that. I could use shaders or something for that, but I'm not sure. So let's check out a cool site called Godot Shaders. And let's take a look and let's do a search here for star, right? I don't know. See what turns up. We got Starfield Parallax, that's kind of cool. That's a canvas item. So you could tell that that's for 2D. That's kind of a cool little effect there. Also canvas item. Whoa, here we go. Flaring star. Okay. So let's see here. Shader code. So I don't quite understand shader code yet. Do we got a fucking dark mode for this site or what? Because holy balls, this is fucking bright. Ba-da-da-da. So this shader looks like the person didn't license it properly. So let's use it as a sample here. Let's see what it does. So converting GSL to Godot shaders. Let's take a look and see what the shader. That's pretty wild. I don't want that to be that crazy. Okay, so let's try type 1. Oh. How I run it. Here we go. That's kind of cool. Let's do type 2. Let's see what that does. That looks fucking sick, to be honest. Holy shit. Hell yeah. That's also pretty cool. We did that one already. That's cool. Type 5. Kind of cool too. I think type 2 would work best for what I'm thinking. Maybe not quite so crazy, but that's basically a freaking sun. That is awesome. So what does type 2 do? So type 2 defines a lot of the variables here. So brightness 1.5, ray brightness, gamma, spot brightness, ray density. A lot of these variables that he has set defined here. And then he has procedural noise, main image. I gotta do some research on shaders, man. I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at, to be honest. But that's wicked cool, though. I wonder if I can find a way to kind of reproduce that. Tell you what. I do like that. Let's go ahead and not look at that horrid mess I had before. Let's think about what we're going to do for the star. So we're going to create new scene. It's going to be 2D. And it's going to be Genesis star. All right. So for this, let's see, I'm not even sure what I should use for this, to be honest. Tell you what, let's just start out adding a sprite. And we're going to add that texture that we were using before. Go to assets. Let's go to sprites, hand drawn. I guess we'll go to locations. We'll do a star dyeable, which is a pretty horrific star, to be honest. Kind of shitty. But whatever, right? It's what we got. So it's pretty massive already. But let's work with it. So we should probably also add assets. Maybe we could do shaders too. Create folder. And we'll call it shaders. So I feel like we should probably watch a tutorial on how to make shaders. So let's go to YouTube's here. So we'll go to Godot for shaders. So random question for you guys. For YouTube, have you guys noticed lately that YouTube is recommending you videos that you know you've watched before? Like, I know that happens sometimes because occasionally a creator will have to like re-upload a video that got taken down or something like that you might have seen before, and that counts as a new video. But there's a shit ton of channels that are just popping up in my feed again of videos that I know I fucking watched before, and they haven't been re-uploaded, and it's really weird. And it's not because I even know which ones I watch it on too, because there's a lot of shit I watch on my personal one that it's just popping up again. I know I've watched them, but they're just popping up again. I don't know if anyone else is running into that lately or not. So let's see. Let's do a quick one just to get started. Godot shader in 7 minutes sounds good. Let me pause this music here. Perfect time to end it. I hope I don't get copyrighted for this shit. So let's mute this for now. Let's turn on closed captions. Yeah. Godot shaders.
Interested in some shaders? Shaders are amazing. They give a lot of life to our effects
Is
or
this
just
an AI
a visual
voice or
look.
something? Okay, lots of stuff that we can do with shaders. Where's my closed captions? There we go. Yep, that's all that shaders. Cool screen transitions. That's also a shader? Really? Wow. Okay. So the basics.
I guess the simplest example we can start with is flashing enemies. In this case we will only apply the shader to our sprite. So let's focus only on the sprite node, and you can ignore all the other nodes. To apply a shader to any sprite, go to Material and select New Shader Material. Go to Shader and select New Shader. And there we go, we can now start coding our shader. As I mentioned before, the shader language is different from the usual GD script, but it's pretty easy once you get used to it.
If you say
First,
so.
we start by declaring our shader type. In this case we are going to use
This was like 4 minutes ago. I think he's just using like a text-to-speech thing. I don't think it's like AI generated or whatever. But, yeah.
canvas item, since we are using it on a sprite which derives from a canvas item class. Next we declare the shader function we are going to use. We only need the fragment function for this one. The fragment function runs for every pixel in a sprite and determines what color that pixel should be.
Okay.
To make it easier to understand, let's make an example. Let's take the built-in variable called color in all caps. Whatever we put in color will be the final output to the sprite. Now let's assign a vector 4 to color. Color takes 4 values. Red,
Okay,
green.
let me back up a second. He said something important, I think.
Whatever we put in color will be the final output to the sprite. Now let's assign a vector 4 to color.
Okay.
Color takes 4 values. Red, green, blue and alpha. That's why we use vector 4 to assign colors to it.
Yep.
Let's assign 1 to all the values. This will make our sprite full white. As you can see, adjusting these values will also adjust the color of our sprite. To make it more convenient, we can also store the color we want into a variable. Let's store it in small case color, and then assign that variable to the final output. As you can see, the results are the same.
Okay.
But there is a problem. We only want the enemy texture itself to flash,
Right.
and not the whole sprite. So how do we check only for the position of the enemy texture within the sprite? We use UV, of course. UV basically means the coordinates within the sprite. And we take the UV of the
Okay, hang
sprite
on a
basically
sec.
means the coordinate.
UV varies between 0 to 1 from left to right and top to bottom. Okay, how do they manage that?
It's within the sprite. And we take the UV of the sprite by using the texture built-in variable which takes the UV from our texture. Just like this. And now all we have to do is mix it with another color just like this. We use the built-in function mix and we assign it to our color variable. We want to mix the color values of our current texture to whatever color we want. So
Okay.
we mix the RGB values. The first two arguments are the colors we want to mix. And the last argument is how much we want to apply the second value to the first value. And there we go. We have our flashing enemy.
Okay, I feel like he just covered like 7 very important things, like in a small amount of time. Holy shit. Okay. So UV is basically how we determine just like the, I guess for better term, like the actual bounds of our sprite, like our actual, what the image is. It ignores the alpha. Okay, cool. So we're getting that from our texture, which is the texture component of our sprite, I suppose, since we're applying it to this canvas item. And then, so we're getting that, so why would texture function return a color? A vec4 color? I don't understand that. So I guess, first of all, let's back up. So fragment is running for every fucking pixel in this sprite. So we're getting a color by getting like the texture, passing in the texture and UV. So we're getting the color of this current place in the sprite. Okay, that makes sense. And then we're mixing that color with whatever we want to pass in. In this case, he doesn't want to change the alpha, so he's only using RGB, so he's using a vec3. That makes sense. Okay.
As always, we could just alter these numbers to get the color we want. We can also alter the last argument if we don't want the flash effect fully opaque. But how do we actually access these values with our normal GD script code? By using uniforms, of course. Uniforms let us access the variables in our shader language from our usual language in the inspector. Let's declare our first one, which is flash color. As you can see, we now have access to a color wheel on the inspector. It's like exporting a variable in normal GD script. Let's now assign this flash color value to our second argument in the mix function below. Our next uniform will be our flash modifier, which will be the last argument in our mix function below.
Okay, what do you say there? Don't forget to assign a value here. Flash modifier.
We should be ready to go. Amazing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Nice. So you basically declared variables up at the top called uniforms. Okay. Application.
Now we know how to make the shader, but how do we actually apply it in game? First, let's save the shader that we made, so that it can be used by any object in our game which might need this shader. Go to Resource tab and check Local to Scene. Don't forget this. Otherwise all the objects that has this shader will all flash at the same time. Now let me show you how I applied the shader on my actual code. In my enemy script I added a function called flash. This function will get called every time the enemy is hit with the player bullet. Inside the function I use the setShaderParam function to access the uniform flash modifier.
Okay, so he's accessing the modifier property of a sprite, or the material property of a sprite, which has the setShaderParameter method of that. Okay. And this is where you can interact with your uniforms. Okay. So he's setting that flash modifier to be 1. So if it's at 0, the shader is basically not being applied, which is cool. Okay, that makes sense.
And set it to 1. I also added a timer which will reset it back to 0 after a short amount of time. Creating the flash effect. That's how simple it is. I use the same shader and applied it to my player as well when she
Okay.
gets hit. The dash effect silhouette also uses the same shader, but with a pink color. So now that we know the basics of Godot shader, where do we go from here? Well, like this guy suggested, I also suggest downloading the demo shaders in the Godot library.
Okay. That's cool.
Simply copy those shaders into your own project and use them as needed. There are also tons of free shaders on the internet, like go.shaders.com. Remember, the best way to create the best games is to steal from others.
Sun Tzu. Nice. Part 3, what game is this? Tell you what, since I watched this video on stream, I'll let him plug his game too. And
Now
I'll
it's
subscribe
time
and
to
give it a
address
like
the
too.
elephant in the room. What is this beautiful game that I have been showing throughout this video? Well, let me tell you about our latest game, Polaris. It's a new passion project that we have been working on for the past few weeks. Right now I'm in the middle of transferring it from GMS2 to Godot.
Oh,
I will
wow.
make a proper video about it soon. But if you want to follow the game or even contribute to it, join our Discord server. You can also
That's a cool
play
effect.
the GMS2 alpha build. Links in description. But that's all I have for you right now. I hope you learned something. Please check my references in the description. If you want to learn more about Godot shaders, smash that like button or I will smash your mom.
Okay. Subscribed, liked. Amazing. Okay. So I have a much better idea of what we have going on here. So that's cool. So shader inputs. He's got some uniforms defined. Now this is a different shader language than what Godot uses. So that's fine. That's pretty cool though. So let's see, what's he doing down here? So we got a whole bunch of random stuff here. I'm not sure what does. So piece of function void. Okay. So let's take a look at what they converted it as. So shader type canvas item, because it's a 2D object. They've got some uniforms, just some variables here. So that's interesting. So they have that fragment function, but they have other functions here. What is FBM? We got noise and hash. Interesting. So fragment, let's just take a look at what their fragment function is doing, right? So they're getting the time and they're sort of like randomizing it. So vec2 of UV, XY property. I'm not sure what they're trying to do here. They're basically multiplying X by something and then multiplying UV as a whole. What? Interesting. I don't know what the hell this is. RXY. Okay. So I have to do some more research on that. Let's not get bogged down with this for right now. But I do want to try to add, create new. It's going to be a resource. It's going to be a shader. So, wait, Godot has a visual editor? Let's do that. We'll call this one shader test. Create. Okay. So shader test. What is this? Okay. Well, this is fun. I don't know what it does, but it looks awesome. Output. All right. So maybe I don't want to do the visual editor or something. I'm not sure. So we don't want spatial, we want canvas. How do I specify? Oh, here we go. Canvas item. Look at that. That's a lot better. Cool. I'm learning. So we have modes, blend, mix, flags. Okay, cool. So that's fun. How do I... Can I apply like a sample image to it rather than just this square? So we got to add... Interesting. We got color. Okay. It's got a bunch of builds. So this is like a drag and drop shader editor. That's kind of cool. Okay. I'll dig into this later. For now, I'm not going to mess with this. I'm just going to save this and we're going to move on to something else. So we have a star. Big old to-do on that. I do want to figure out the shader situation though. I think that would be cool. So let's take a look at our main scene again. So we're declaring that. So now we need to basically comprise our star system with locations. So let's go ahead and make a location. So we got, let's see, we got factions, we got ships, we got star systems. And I guess we could add our locations in here as well. So maybe I will add a folder called locations. And then we're going to add a new resource of type location. And we're going to name this one Earth. Because naturally we're going to start with Earth, baby. So we have an Earth resource. So name is going to be Earth. Description, to do the birthplace of humans, LOL, ruffle waffles, right? So the position, this is going to be, let's take a look at our location resource. So what is our position within the star system? So this is kind of cool because this is a vector 2. So maybe I also want to add, like, depending on what day you get in there. So for example, this star system, we know that Earth orbits the sun. It takes 365 days to like complete one orbit, right? So I could potentially scale this by a modifier, which could be cool. So maybe I want to add that as a variable as well. So position, and then what should I call this variable? Let's see. What is rotation factor? Maybe that's be what I call it. Rotation. So basically it's to determine, so what my thought process is, I'm going to keep track of time like in the game, right? So what day it currently is. And days by default are measured by Earth days, because birthplace of humanity, that's what we go off of. But not every star system is going to track that the same. So for example, sorry. Let's turn my tunes back on. So we know that Earth takes 365 days to go around the sun. Other planets will take more or less time to complete their orbit, right? So we want to be able to determine like the rotation based on that modifier. So maybe I could just make it... I could just make a variable called like how many Earth days does this location take to complete a full orbit of the star, right? So we'll do export bar, and we will do orbit. Was it duration, time, orbit time? And we'll make this a float, and we'll just say 365. And we'll say in Earth days, right? So that's what we'll go with for then. We have position and we have orbit time. So we'll make it a float. We can say, like, say, example 365 for Earth, right? Save. So we won't set a value. So now we could say 365 for this. So position, let's see, we should probably move this out a ways. So I'm doing some thinking here. Let's just do like 2000, and then we'll do like, I don't know, like do 2000 away here as well, right? We'll give it some space to be out there. So then we have a texture. What image should we use in space? So here is where I'm not sure if I should use a texture. I think I should use a packed scene, and I should make the location, the actual location scene, have like an area 2D so you can know if you're colliding with it or not. But we'll need that. So for now, I'm going to put a to-do here. Should we make this a packed scene? So we can, yeah, actually we are. We are going to need that. Let's just fucking do it. So let's change this to packed scene, right? And then we will add. So here's the thing. Should we just make, rather than having this be a resource, should we just make this a scene? Or should we have both? Because I think there's cases where I would only want to reference the resource. I don't want to have to instantiate a node in order to actually get data from it. It would be much resource efficient to load a resource rather than having to load a packed scene, instantiate it, and then grab variables from it, right? So I think I should have both. So what I might do is I might define a class for location scene. Or maybe I might make it location data and then location. So let's change this to be location data. Okay, we'll save that. And then we will rename this to be location data. There we go. So we defined that. So now we have to go back to our star system. And so we're going to have locations. which is defined as an array of locations, which is not really a valid thing anymore. So we should go location data. Save that. There we go. It's coming together. Slowly but surely, we are making progress. Believe it or not. Alright, so let's see. Attempt to open script, location. Yeah, okay, here we go. Cool, we got that. Location data, awesome, it updated, fantastico, perfect. And then... so Earth, which is a resource. We have location.gd. This needs to be updated now, is the problem. Let's try this. Let's close and reopen it. Because I tweaked something. I'm going to close the old one too. I'm going to reopen Godot 4. There we go. Alright. Let's see. There we go. Location data. Perfect. So it did update. So let's go ahead and switch this to be a packed scene. And we should just rename this to be location scene. We'll change that. Texture for the UI. I think what I was thinking there is just the picture to bring up on the screen. Because we're going to be able to pull like the name, the description, and then also what services that it is on offer there. And so all that's going to be pulled by the UI. So we want the texture to be able to show there too. So that's why I did that. And then this should be a packed scene because we're going to instance it on the screen. So we want to do that. So let's go ahead and create that location. We're going to create new. I'm going to create a new script. We're going to call this one location. I'm just going to call it location scene. I'm going to be explicit about it. We're going to inherit from a node 2D. Or create that. So there we have location data and location scene. So location scene is basically just going to have, so we're going to declare a class name location scene. What this is going to allow us to do is we can define some methods for locations if needed. I don't think we're going to have to, but to do, declare variables and methods for locations if needed. So I think we are going to have to declare something because we're going to have to emit a signal if we are, like if the player is near us, right? If they've kind of entered our area, right? So we have to emit, we have to define a signal, and we can say location entered. We'll call it location area entered. Okay, and we will pass in So here's the thing, if I pass in ship data as a variable, does that, or not ship data, location data as a variable, does that make a cyclic redundancy? I don't think so, because we're referencing a packed scene and this is a node. So I don't think it's going to be a cyclic dependency. Man, this riff is heavy. Holy shit. Just want to just break shit when I hear this. Hell yeah. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, boom. Doo-doo. Yeah, I can't wait to make music again, man. It's gonna be great. So, location seen, signal area entered. So, what are we gonna have? So, we're gonna say expected scene structure, right? So, we're gonna have a node 2D, and then we're gonna have probably a sprite 2D. Then we're going to have an area 2D. And then under that area 2D, we're going to have a collision shape of some sort, right? Most likely it'll be a circle. Could be a square, could be a polygon. Depends on the area. Or depends on the structure. Either way, it's going to have that shape. Also, I'm thinking about, so let's load up the old game, and you can see what I'm talking about here. Bum, 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 bum. So, looking at how I have the lighting and stuff set up, you can see that my ship is casting a shadow, but the planets aren't. The planets are just lit up entirely. So I'm not sure how to add... Maybe it'll just be a shader or something, but I'm not sure how to sort of add, like, you know how a planet looks, how it's like part of it is lit up and the other parts in darkness. It's a sphere. I want to be able to recreate that somehow with these flat 2D textures that I made. I think it'd be cool. So I'm curious how we would do that. So let's look it up. Godot 4. How to make a ball sprite look like a sphere with lighting. Right? Maybe we'll just try that. Sphere shape. 2D spinning sphere. Godot shaders. Okay, that's interesting. Well, that's kind of neat. I'm not sure if I want to go that route or not, but it's a cool idea. That's kind of cool, though. I just wonder how intensive that would be, if that would work correctly. It doesn't interact with the lighting system. I don't really want to create a 3D game, though, is the thing. I guess I could do 3D stuff. Then I have to texture it, and sculpt it, and do all that stuff, which is not... It's just a sphere. It's just built in. You can do that. That would foundationally and fundamentally change everything I'm doing, though. Not sure if I want to go down that route. Tell you what, we made some progress, though. But for now, I think that I might do some more thinking and some more research. But yeah, I think, well, let's just finish up this location, because, well, no, because I had to figure this part out. I mean, either way, I can modify the expected scene structure later on. So we'll do that. And then what we'll do is the node enters the scene tree for the first time. We'll just go ahead and add func ready. This will return nothing. And what we'll do is we will just say, let's see. Connect signals so we can emit. I don't know. Do I need to repeat the damn signals for this? Or should I just expose this as a variable so that other people can connect to it if needed? Because I don't like declaring. I don't like having a node that passes up a signal that I have a signal connector function that just emits another signal that's just named fucking something different. That seems stupid to me. So let's do this. Let's not worry about having a signal. Let's do, we'll do onReady var, and we'll just name it area 2D. Of type area 2D. And it will equal area 2D. Right? So that way, we can basically, here we expose our, actually, you know what? No, we're gonna make this an export. We're gonna get rid of the initialization. We're gonna do func ready. You know what? Does it have an autocomplete thing for me? It does. Hell yeah, that's nice. I like that. Now we're gonna say area 2D equals, and we're gonna say area 2D. So that way we can export it. Here we expose our area 2D, so anyone can subscribe to its area entered and exited signals, right? That's basically what we're doing. So let's put this on a new line so we could see. There we go. So we mouse over that. It should give us that description later on if we ever have to reference that again. So that's basically what we're doing there. So it's going to have a sprite. It's going to have the area 2D with a collision shape. So that's what a location scene will look like. So now we can go down here. We're going to create a new scene. And we're going to create a location scene. And we're going to say Earth scene. Right? So Earth scene. So here we just have, we have to add a sprite. Add child node. Sprite 2D. We're going to add a texture to that. So let's go to our assets. We're going to go to sprites, hand drawn. We're going to go to locations. And we have an SBR Earth ready to go. Boom. Not a very geographically accurate Earth, but haters gonna hate, whatever. So we also need to add an area 2D. And we're gonna add a child to that. We're gonna add a collision shape 2D. And we're gonna specify the shape to be a new circle shape. We're gonna set the radius of that shape to be, I don't fucking know, like 225 or some shit. Looks good to me, right? That's pretty good. So we'll set that. That'll be it there. Cool. So now when this runs, when it enters the scene tree for the first time, area 2D is going to get set to area 2D here. It's going to get a reference to it. And then anyone who needs to subscribe to this area 2D's signals can do so. Yeah. Cool, make us progress. So that part's done. I should probably make like a sample. One that I can copy and paste as needed. But I don't know, for now this will be fine. We'll have to make some more sprites and stuff, obviously. But I can do that later, that's fine. Okay, cool. So, hand drawn, we're good on the assets for now. Entity, star systems, then we have implementations, Genesis, and then we have locations inside this. We have that. Fantastic. So let's go back to the Genesis resource. The locations, I'm going to add an element, and I'm going to just drag in the Earth resource. Why did it not like it? There we go. Cool. So now we have that added. Awesome sauce. Cool. Da 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 da. So let's see if it works. Let's edit our main function here. And what we're going to do is set up our background. Okay, so let's do this. Let's document what we're actually doing here. Let's actually... So we're doing load our star system data. And then what we're doing here is add our background to the scene and set its Z. I will just say ensure we set the Z index. Cool. So we don't want to set up our player ship yet. We want to do that later. What we want to do is once we have our background added, we're also going to add the star. And then we're also going to add any locations. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to say, let's see. So we have star system data. So we're going to say var star, which is of type node 2D. It's going to equal star system data dot star. And this will be a pack scene, so we can instantiate it. And then we will just simply add that to our scene. Add child star. And then we'll probably set the Z index of that as well. Z index, we'll set that to be something like -95. That way it's farther back, but it's on top of the background. So cool. So now we have to add any locations. Since a star system can have multiple locations, we're going to have to iterate through any of the locations it has. So we're going to say for location in star system data dot locations, and we can see locations doesn't have a property, really? Whatever. We have for location in star system data locations. So this is giving us location data. So you would think that it would, the autocomplete would work. We're gonna do a to-do on here because I want to see if it works. Let me just close it. I want to reopen it. Let me close the old one too. Yeah. About that. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da. Okay, so does this give me autocomplete? No, it doesn't. Why the hell not? So we know it's going to be a star system. Come on, Godot. Give me some fucking autocomplete action here. So we know it's going to be a star system. So we know that the star... We're good there. So we know the star system data.locations is going to be an array of location data. So that means that you should be able to autocomplete and like, or at least give me a mouse over and tell me what the fuck this is supposed to be. Maybe they'll add that later. I don't know. Maybe I could figure out how to add that. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that. So add any locations. So for every location, we're going to load. We're going to instantiate. Let's see. We're just going to add that location. Add location to scene and set position. So we are going to do var location scene. We'll just say var loc for short. And this is going to be of type location scene equals location dot locations. Oh, it does give me autocomplete. Fuck yeah. Awesome. So they're halfway there, which is fantastic. So location scene, and then we can do dot instantiate. Cool. And then we're going to add that as a child of our scene here. We're also going to set the z-index of it to be like -90, just for funsies. That way it's still in the background as well. And then we're also going to set the location of it. So we're going to do loc.position. We want the relative position, not global, but we're going to set the relative position from our main in the context of our main scene, which is at 0, 0. So it could be global position anyway. But we're going to set the position to equal location dot position. Kind of silly, but it works. And then to do rotate the position vector based on the current date and location orbit time, right? So that's something that we're going to do later. So I put a big old fatty to do on there. So there we go. Perfect. Boom. So now this should add our star and also our stuff, right? So we have a bug. Cannot call method instantiate. Oh, because I don't have a star listed on our Genesis resource. So for star, which is of type, this is just says property star. What the fuck? Show me some shit here. Star system data. Star is a packed scene. So we should probably have... Oh, look at that. We do have it already. So we'll just add Genesis star there. It's not the greatest, but it should work now. Nope. Instantiate on a null value. Really? So I wonder if for the Earth location, we didn't set that location scene. So we'll add that here. Save. There we go. So you can see that we did it, right? Now where to find Earth? It's super... Oh, hey, look, there's Earth. Woo! So that looks kind of silly, to be honest. So I think I should make the parallax backgrounds move more. I think that would add a bit more depth to it. So I'm liking the way it looks so far, but let's crank this up to 0.2, and then we'll crank up the secondary one to be 0.4. Let's see how that looks now. Okay, it definitely looks like we're moving like a little better now, especially with the background. So it looks kind of silly because we're like zoomed in. So let's go to our projects and let's adjust our window size. Hey JS, how are you? What's this game about? Everything. So it's a 2D top-down space RPG. I'm rewriting it for the second time. And it's going to be heavily inspired by the game Escape Velocity Nova, which is an older game. And there's also other games that you could try that have the same genre. So if you go to Steam and look up Endless Sky, this game was also heavily inspired by Escape Velocity Nova. So I'm doing kind of my own thing with my own, I have my own tweaks and things I want to change on it. But the story of it is you're going to basically be a starship captain, right? And you get to either trade or be a pirate. You can attack people, you can fight in wars, you can take over systems. And there's a overarching storylines to it for the different factions. It should be fun. So I'm basically just rewriting a lot of stuff. I'm just defining a lot of the core data structures that we need, because my current version that I'm working on now, here, I'll just show you really quick. Let me pull this up. So this is the status of I had before I decided to rewrite it. So let's just load up a new game. So you can see here we're moving around our star system. Cool, awesome sauce, woohoo. We can mouse over Earth and everything. There's other ships and stuff out here. I'm gonna land. There we go. F. So everything is rough in this game right now, right? But you can go to ships. You can like browse for other ships. You can buy different ships if you want. So for example, if I want to buy like this sweet fighter, I'm gonna buy that. And then you can, now I have this sweet fighter that has some lasers on it and stuff, right? So in addition to just doing this, you can also trade. So there's various goods and quantities, various goods and services that you can buy. And then there's a map with like other star systems that you can go explore. So if I jump over to this star system over here, you boost on over there. Wait for it, and we're gonna jump. Wait for it. Oh, here we go. I hit the wrong button. All right, so we are gonna hyperspace over there in a second. There we go. So now we are in a new system. So we could land on a planet over here, and we could basically trade here as well. So let's do land. So now you can see we're on a different planet. I can go here to their stuff. I can trade there. They might have some ships here as well. So I can customize my ship if I wanted to. I could add upgrades and stuff to it. Not really, but yeah. So it crashed. Anyway, that's the status of the game I have right now. So I have some of the systems defined, but there's still a lot to do. And as I'm trying to add more and more stuff to it, it's in a really rough spot. So for context, I started making this game 3 years ago as like a hobby side project. I started it in the Game Maker Studio 2 engine. I worked on it for a bit, decided to port it over to a whole new engine, being the Godot engine. So that was pretty rough because I didn't know Godot very well. And I had my reasons for porting it, but I don't want to go into all that. I don't want to rehash the whole history, but I rewrote it once, and then because I was still learning this new engine, I wrote things in a lot of bad ways, and so it's basically a very brittle house of cards. So every time I try to add a new feature, stuff breaks, kind of like how you saw the game crash earlier. So now that I know much more about the Godot engine, I'm killing two birds with one stone here. I'm re-architecting it from the ground up with all of the core features I want designed in mind already, so I can design it in the game and get it ready. And on top of that, I'm also upgrading from Godot 3 to Godot 4 because there's a lot of new benefits that the Godot 4 engine offers over Godot 3. So I'm knocking out two birds with one stone there is basically what I'm doing. So I'm rewriting it from scratch. I've got a bit of work done on it already, mostly just defining data structures and stuff, but I would like to get this game done. So let's go to window. Let's make this, I don't know, 1920 by 1080. That should still work with our parallax backgrounds because we set them to be 2048 by 2048. So mode is going to be windowed. Center of the screen sounds good to me. Want to be resizable? Yes. Stretch mode. We'll do viewport, I think, and the aspect is we're going to keep the aspect. And let's see what happens here. So now we have that. Let's close it. Let's run it again. And now I should be able to resize my window. That does not work how I want it to. So project. We're going to keep... Let's keep width and see what happens. Okay. Nope. Nope-a-rooney. Project settings. Maybe it's just canvas items? Let's try that. Nope. It's also not doing what I want. Let's keep it viewport. Scale, what's this do? Okay. Scale mode. Interesting. It should be resizable. I want it to... we could try expand and see what happens. It's not quite doing what I want it to do. Anyway, we kind of have our ship working again, which is nice. We have our planets. There's no real light being emitted from the star. The star is not really even well defined yet. But our code is working to just throw it together. So we are loading our star system data. We're initializing the background. We're adding it to our scene. We're adding the star. We're adding any locations. We're dynamically handling that. And then we're adding our player and the camera as well, just for shits and giggles. So that's kind of working. But I don't know why it's not resizing the way that I want. What did I do on the old game? Let's go take a look at that. Project settings, window. So stretch mode, 2D, aspect keep. That's what I had there. So they changed that in Godot 4 to offer more features, but I don't know how the hell to do it. So what do we do? Ba-da-da. Okay, so it looks like it's able to scale down, but not up. So let's figure that out. Project. We want to keep width. Let's do like 2.0. Does that work? Does that fuck everything up? We're about to find out. Okay, now it's all massive. Which looks terrible. Okay. We don't want to do that. Project settings. Let's go back to 1.0. There's got to be... Okay, center. Initial position, initial screen, resizable. Okay, so Yeah, I'm not sure what to do about that for right now. But either way, it will... Can I go full screen? I want it to actually blow up and go full screen, and it's not doing that. It did it in the old game. So let's research it. Godot 4. How to make game. Let's see. Godot 4 full screen scale. How about that? Let's see. Multiple resolutions from Godot documentation. Okay, cool. One size fits all. Most common approach is to use a single base resolution and fit it to everything else. This resolution is how most players are expected to play the game, given their hardware. Okay. For example, Steam shows the most common primary display resolution is 1920 by 1080. So a sensible approach is to develop a game for this resolution and then handle scaling for the different sizes and aspect ratios. Okay, how do we do that? Resizing. Stretch mode. Okay, so it doesn't stretch at all. Got it. Aspect equals expand. Okay, that's kind of what we want. Mode viewport. So we don't even have that anymore. There's no mode 2D anymore. So that's not even an option for me anymore. I wonder if it's because I'm using the forward plus as opposed to the compatibility. So let's try this. Windows, stretch. We have viewport canvas items. So let's close this. Let's try setting it back to compatibility. Let's save and restart. I'm not sure if my game will work in compatibility because of the... We'll see. Anyway, so now let's go to project settings, window. I think I got the same settings here. Let's try to run it. Okay, so everything still works. That does not. Oh. Are you kidding me? It was just a frickin'... Okay, I see. Let's switch it back to forward plus. Save and restart. It's just a stupid setting on the running window. Okay. This is how we learn. Alright, project settings. Make sure this is all set still. Viewport, keep with, fantastico. Let's run it. So let's allow it to be this. Go full screen. It keeps that same width, which is nice. It does look a little bit rough though. Which is fine. There we go. So yeah, this will work, I think. Cool. So we're flying around space, ta-da, whoop-de-doo, awesome. We got that figured out. So we actually did a lot, even though it doesn't look like much. Behind the scenes, we set up a lot of things to basically add on to. So we defined our star system resource more. We defined our backgrounds. We defined like what makes up our locations. So we have location data, and location data has a location scene, which is what the actually looks like. Under the hood, we also added an area 2D and a collision shape so that we can connect signals to detect if our ship is actually over the planet or not. which is useful for things like determining, hey, what happens when I press the button to land? Okay, are you encountering a location? No, then you can't land, right? So we have that. So there's even some things we have defined that we haven't put much thought into, like such as services. So every location might have services. So a service is basically, all I have for right now is like the name and the description, but we can flesh this out later once we get to working on getting that working. So a service is basically like a shipyard, a bank, job postings, right? Outfitters for your ships. Even quest hubs or whatnot could be a service, right? There's various services that a location may offer that you as a starship captain may wish to partake in. And this is where we define that. So we have to flesh out our service more for sure. But we got a good start on star system. We got a good start on locations. So bing bam right there. Ship, star system, locations are started. And they're being architected in a way that I can easily expand on them without breaking everything, I think. Which is nice. And our project structure seems to be doing well so far. So that I can keep track of, you know, all of our star systems. So as we keep going, you can see now we have implementation. So we just have a bunch of these star systems here. So Genesis is our first star system. There's going to be literally hundreds of these. And they're going to have all their own locations, their own backgrounds, their own resources. Where I can specify all this stuff to make it all work together. Cool. So there are some things to research. So let's go back to my main script. And let's do this here. So let's go ahead and where I left off. Because these are notes for myself. Because I don't exactly work on the game every day. It's not my day job. And sometimes depending on how much I get the shit kicked out of me at work, I may or may not be feeling up to working on the game. So I like to leave little notes for myself so that it might be a week or a month even sometimes where I work on the game. I know kind of where I'm at, what I was doing. So that's what I'm doing now. Where I left off, I threw together a star system and a location. Those are working in a very basic way. So things to research is I need to do some research on shaders. So specifically blazing star, right? We want to have like blazing stars. I found a shader online that kind of looks like what I want to do. So this looks awesome. But I need to be able to basically make it work how I want. I could steal this right here, but somebody pointed out that they converted this from Shader Toy, and somebody commented basically saying, hey, you need to check the license on the Shader Toy site. The author published it using a license incompatible with CC0 that you put here. The original license is Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 3.0 unported license. So it could be something as simple as just giving attribution to just this original link on Shader Toy if I want to use it. So created by Nimitz in 2014. Holy shit. This is a 11-year-old shader and it rocks. So let's take a look at where's the license information on this thing? It's been a featured shader, hell yeah. Share the shader. Where does it show the license info on this damn thing? You would think it would be here where you would need to see it, but I guess not. Ba-da-da. Okay, iChannels. There's a bunch of channels. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't even see the license on this thing. Comments. Where do they see the license info? Where did he get that? Oh, right here. License Creative Commons. Not okay. I see. Contact author for other licensing options. Okay. So if we look at this license, what are the stipulations of that? If I wanted to use it. So this is a 3.0, unported. You are free to copy and redistribute the medium. You are free to adapt it and build upon the material. The licensor cannot revoke these freedoms as long as you follow license terms. So attribution. Oh, you may not use the material for commercial purposes. So since I plan on selling this game, I cannot use this material. Oh, yeah, I can't use this this shader. And then this is where they were pointing out the license on the Godot shaders, is that if you remix, transform, or build upon the material, you must distribute your license, your contributions under the same license. So, yeah, that's fun. So yeah, non-commercial. That's the big one there. Non-commercial. So I can't use this shader. But I'm going to try to make my own, something similar, but it's going to take a bit of research into shaders to make something work. So I'll play around with that. So I need to research shaders for sure. So shaders, Blazing Star, and also I wanted to research how, like lighting affects planets. Right? Because right now my planets are just a flat image. I would like to be able to have my lights sort of make like that sphere effect on them. I think that would be cool. So I'll have to do some sort of shader with that as well. Oh my god. So that could be cool. So yeah. We'll do that. And then other things I gotta research. What was the other thing I had to research? Shaders was one of them. That's all I can remember right now. There's something else to... I forgot. What the hell was it? Whatever. I'll go back and watch the stream later to see if I can figure it out again. But yeah, to do rewatch stream to see what the other thing to remember was. All right, cool. So before I end the stream, let's go ahead. I'm going to open this in File Manager. Let's pop open this in a terminal. And then we are going to do a git status so you can see all the things we've changed. I'm going to add all of this. We're going to git status just to see. So we got a few things we added. Rename some files, new files, modified existing files. Yep. Okay, cool. We're going to git commit -m and we're going to say tweaked star system and locations got something working. Need to do more research. Okay, there's my commit message. We'll do a git push. Since I'm the only developer working on this currently, I'm going to push it to my main branch up on GitHub. So now if I go to GitHub, I'll have to sign in. God damn it. Whatever. It'll be on my GitHub. It's a private repository because I am wanting to sell this. And if people want to recreate my game, they should at least watch my devlogs and my streams to figure out how I did it. Anyway, I'm going to call it an early night. My brain's kind of fried. I'm going to go chill for a bit. before I have to head to bed. And yeah, thanks for hanging out and watching me ramble and try to mentally wrestle with problems. Probably not the most engaging stream, but I got some stuff done. We have a ship that can fly around. We have locations that are up. So realistically, this could have been a lot easier, but I'm building a lot of stuff under the hood. So just what you see on the screen is not necessarily the fruits of the labor. It's the stuff to come. So this is supposed to be a star. That's kind of silly. But anyway. Yeah. All right. I'm going to end it. I'll be streaming tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. If I feel up to it, I might do more game dev. But more than likely, I'll probably be either playing some more Valheim, or I'll be playing Deep Rock Galactic again. I'm not sure. Probably more Valheim. But we'll see how I feel. Anyway, I'll catch you guys next stream. Peace.